All right, so today we have the trade value chart for draft picks in this upcoming 2023 NFL draft. So, a lot of times we talk about things like, for example, Jonah Williams being traded, right? And we say, oh, wow, the Bengals want a first or second round pick. We believe as fans that he's worth probably about a third or fourth round pick, right? But a lot of NFL executives have came out and said, listen, we want to trade for Jonah. We do. But since he's asking for first or second, and we just simply aren't going to take that. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at how these picks are valued for Cincinnati's picks and possible other picks that we could possibly see trades, in this upcoming draft. I've talked about many times how this upcoming draft, we're probably going to see a Jonah Williams trade of some kind, whether that's in a first round, second round type scenario. Maybe since he trades up in the second round, trades up in the first round, player on the board they like, right? So, all definite possibilities. But how these are ranked, by the way, shout out to BengalsWire.com for posting this, is that it starts off with 1,000. So every pick is out of 1,000. So the first pick overall in the draft, for obvious reasons, is 1,000 out of 1,000, right? That's the most valuable pick you could ever have in any draft. No matter what the draft is, the first pick overall is the draft. It's like, fantasy football draft. When you go for the first pick in the fantasy football draft, the reason why it's the most important pick is because that means you can get any player you want. You can also trade out of it. Obviously, Chicago did that themselves. But you can get any player you want. It doesn't matter what anyone has to say. No one is going to impact you on who that first pick overall is. The second pick is 717 because the reason why, again, that's a little bit less valued is because you are only able to pick one player on your draft board is no longer on your draft board when you pick the second overall pick. So if we go down the list here, right, and we go to Cincy obviously is sitting at pick 28 here. Let me go ahead and move this down. Here is, actually I'm going to have to scroll down here. Pick 28 is 209. So their first round draft pick is valued 209 out of 1,000. This is not surprising. Whenever you get closer and closer to the end of the first round, your draft pick becomes less and less valuable. To a certain degree, actually, which is kind of weird, but there are some draft picks that I think are very valuable at where Cincy is picking because teams sometimes will try to trade back into the first round to get that fifth-year option on their said player. But for the most part, across the board, the higher the pick, the better. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? So their first round pick is 209 out of 1,000. Their second round pick, I'm about to move my beautiful face right here, is going to be 88 out of 1,000. The third round pick is 43 out of 1,000. Their fourth round pick is 18 out of 1,000. Fifth round pick, a 9 out of 1,000. Sixth round pick, 4 out of 1,000. And then finally, the last pick we have here is a 7th round pick, which is 1 out of 1,000 value-wise. And you can see as we go down, I mean, the last pick in the draft, I love how it's 2. The reason why it's 2 is because that's Mr. Irrelevant. Last year was Brock Purdy that got picked there, and now he's Brock Purdy. I mean, let's be honest, you pretty much know about Brock Purdy. The Texans have that pick. So that's actually kind of funny how the last pick in the draft is the equivalent of an early 7th round pick just because it's Mr. Irrelevant. So let's say, for example, Cincinnati does go ahead and package up Jonah Williams and the first round pick, pick 28, and the trade that we talked about before was them going up to the Buccaneers pick. So that means that they're giving Jonah Williams up and they're moving up the value chart wise of 69 points. So Jonah Williams in that context would be worth 69 points to them. Obviously in that trade there was also other things like, for example, they would be giving up the I think they gave up their 3rd round pick, and then they also got the 3rd round pick of the Buccaneers. So it's like they give up 3rd round, they get a 3rd round. So for example, they would also be going up around 11 points on the Bucs here, where they would be giving up Jonah Williams, but moving up around 69 points there and 11 points there. So That would be what? 69, 11, 80 points. So that's kind of how these teams look at it when it comes to trades. Now, you got to keep in mind that Cincinnati has a certain point value for Jonah Williams. They might value Jonah Williams a lot, again, based on what we understand, first, second round pick. So if we think of it like that, that means they value Jonah Williams at the highest 1,000, which they probably don't value him at 1,000. But the lowest they value Jonah Williams right now is 82. 82 points. So if that's the case, right? Think of it like this. Cincinnati is giving up in that context, right? In that trade. I'm going to pull up a calculator here on my phone on me. They're going to give up 82 for Jonah, right? 209 for the first round pick, and 43 for the second round pick. That's 334. So now they have to 334 right here. Let me see where my calculator actually went. There it is. Okay. We have to change monitors here. Alright, so they have the 334 as how much they're giving up, right? So much given up right now. Make my calculator a little bit smaller here for you guys, so we can kind of see this a little bit better. 334. And now they're going to get Buccaneers pick, right? So Buccaneers is minus 278, 56. And then third round, they get the third round pick, right? Minus 54. That's 2. That means Cincinnati is giving up more than Tampa Bay is giving them. They're not going to take that trade. That's not equal. If they value, and again, this is if they value, Jonah Williams at the lowest second round pick. They probably don't value him at the lowest second round pick. They're asking for a first round pick. They're probably asking for a high second round pick or a low end first round pick. So they probably value him in the ballpark range of probably like 162. And the teams actually they were trying to trade was the Jets. So they could even do 138 for the Jets right here. Very possible there. Let me see. Yeah, let's just do let's do it 138, because that's technically a team they went talking to, was that. So they're giving up 138 for Jonah, right? They're giving up 209, and then they're also giving up 43, right? Because they're giving up the third round pick, the second round pick, and the first round pick. So here's what they're giving up. 390. It's a lot to give up. Okay, well, Tampa Bay, what are you going to give us in return? You're going to give us 278, and you're also going to give us 54. We're losing 58 points. No, not even close. Now, if they value Jonah as a 4th or 5th round pick, that would be a completely different story, right? Because then you could look at 18 points or 9 points. But if they value him in that perspective, then they're gonna, want that equivalent value back. So if they do trade up in this draft, right? Let's say, for example, let's say they got 209, right? They're gonna trade up 209. We're gonna package in Jonah Williams with that package. We believe Jonah is equivalent value, if we're Cincinnati here, of 162, right? Keep in mind, again, this is not my personal numbers. Not what I believe. So I 138 we were doing. This is not what I believe. This is what NFL executives are saying Cincinnati is asking for. First and second round pick. It's not my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with my personal opinion. And if some people get confused, like, well, who's saying that? NFL executives. They also said they don't think Jonah Williams is a left tackle. They think he's too small, he doesn't have the wingspan, and he would be better at guard. So some NFL, not every NFL executive is saying that. Some NFL executives are saying that. Obviously, we'll never find out who, because they don't leak the information on who said stuff. They just kind of give you, like, hey, listen, this is why we're not trading this or trading for this guy. All right, so right now, if they give the first round pick, right, plus they gave up their Jonah Williams, they're at 348. A team now has to come back to Cincinnati and say, Cincy, we want your trade. Let's see who they trade up with. Let's say they trade up to the Jaguars pick. This is a pick we talked about many times before. Okay, 237. 110. Jacksonville, you have to give me 110 points of trade value for me to make this trade with you. Well, then Jacksonville comes back and says, okay, Cincy, we will give you... They would have to give up. Jacksonville couldn't do it. Unless they give up a player, they can't do it. Because they have a third, they have a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a sixth. And if they gave up, even if they gave up right now, right, their third, fourth, and sixth, that wouldn't even be close to the value. So they would have to give up their second, which would minus 98. And then they would have to give up probably the fourth. So the Jaguars trade would be Bengals first plus Jonah Williams for Jacksonville's first, second, and fourth. Again, you might say that's way overpriced. That's way overpriced. That if you value a player at a first, second round pick, that's going to be the price tag you're going to have to give up for Cincinnati to trade up to get Jonah Williams away. And again, it's not giving away. That's getting the value back on him. It is what it is. You know, and I'm actually at 138. I'm really lowballing that because they might value him end of first round, really low end of first round, early second round pick. So realistically, here's what I value Jonah Williams as. I value him around a third, fourth round pick. So I'm going to say, for example, I value him at 67, right? You add that to the 209. And if I'm right now, Cincinnati here, and I'm like, okay, I want to trade up to, again, here we go, Jacksonville's pick. Then I'm saying, yeah, Jacksonville, I will give you Jonah Williams' first round pick. You give me your first round pick back, and then you give me a third round pick. And that's where I would put the value at for Jonah Williams. Or if you want to trade up to Tampa Bay, I just do the trade straight up. Jonah Williams, first round pick for your first round pick. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Again, Cincinnati's going to value this guy a lot more than I do. He was a first-round draft pick for them. He was a high overall first-round draft pick, the 11th overall pick in the draft. Right now with right tackle, Collins, a lot of talk about him coming back, possibly coming back. And if he is coming back, and if he comes back before the season starts, and he's ready week 1, it's him and Jackson Carman for that starting right tackle job. That means it's in sense, unless Carman really blows them coaches away even more than he has already. It would be Collins' job starting off right away. That means Jonah Williams is kind of the odd man out now. Because you also have Jackson Carman, you have Cody Ford, right? Jonah Williams odd man out. So, it's very possible if they do go ahead and do this whole scenario, then, Jonah, he's going. I'm about blanking out for a second, sorry guys. But yeah, so if they do trade him, again, they're trying to get their value back on him. And it's very possible they could trade him because of the fact they have, those positions filled. Right tackle is very, very important. Again, a lot of people, look at left tackle and you think left tackle. Left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line. I think it's left tackle, center, and then right tackle. And I don't think people realize as much how important right tackle actually is. We look at last year's playoff game versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. What happened on that final drive for the Bengals? Hakeem got destroyed by Chris Jones. Got shoved right back into Burrow. That drive could have led to points and a win. That was a game-winning drive right there. Hakeem got destroyed on that drive. again, it is what it is, right? But at this moment in time, if they do trade Jonah, it's going to be, again, based on what I understand, for a first, second round pick. So maybe a team in the draft gets desperate and they're like, listen, we didn't get Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones. I don't want to make this metaphor, but it's kind of true. In times of desperation, in times of situations where people are like, oh my god, I wanted this, I wanted that, I wanted this. That's when people make quick decisions, and sometimes they make the wrong decisions. So you might have a team when you're in the draft here who wanted Paris Johnson, right? Or they wanted Broderick Jones or Peter Sharonsky, and they don't get him. And they're like, oh, we need a left tackle. We need a left tackle. We wanted those guys. And then they're like, wait, Cincinnati, they're trying to get rid of Jonah Williams. Call up, Duke Tobin, see what he wants. And that's when they make quick decisions. And sometimes not always smart decisions, but it's decisions that get done then that might not have gotten done if not on draft night. So I really do hope Jonah does find a new team on draft night, and we see a trade up in this upcoming draft. Whether it's in the first round or second round, it might not be the first round, it might be the second round. And again, it could also be, in all honesty, they just trade up a straight up pick. Maybe in the second round, they might not even trade up. They might just second round just be like, hey, listen, you know what? We'll trade a second round pick or third round pick for Jonah Williams. Cincinnati goes, you know what? We really like this other guy that is in the draft, so sure, we'll do that trade. But they have to find the equal value, and that's the point of this trade draft chart. Hope this video did help you out, guys. If it did, make sure to like, comment down below. See you guys later.